The Sinking of the Titanic and Other Great Sea Disasters, edited by Logan Marshall. How Captain Smith Died. Barkworth jumped just before the Titanic went down. He said there were enough life preservers for all the passengers, but in the confusion many may not have known where to look for them. Mellors, who had donned a life preserver, was hurled into the air from the bow of the ship by the force of the explosion, which he believed caused the Titanic to part in the center. I was not far from where Captain Smith stood on the bridge, giving full orders to his men, said Mellors. The brave old seaman was crying, but he had stuck heroically to the last. He did not shoot himself. He jumped from the bridge when he had done all he could. I heard his final instructions to his crew, and recall that his last words were, "You have done your duty, boys. Now every man for himself." I thought I was doomed to go down with the rest. I stood on the deck, awaiting my fate, fearing to jump from the ship. Then came a grinding noise, followed by two others, and I was hurled into the deep. Great waves engulfed me, but I was not drawn toward the ship, so that I believe there was little suction. I swam about for more than an hour before I was picked up by a boat. Charles Herbert Lightoller, previously mentioned, stood by the ship until the last, working to get the passengers away. And when it appeared he had made his last trip, he went up high on the officers' quarters and made the best dive he knew how to make just as the ship plunged down to the depths. This is an excerpt from his testimony before the Senate Investigating Committee. "What time did you leave the ship?" "I didn't leave it." "Did it leave you?" "Yes, sir." Children shall hear that episode sung in after years, and his own descendants shall recite it to their bairns. Mr. Lightoller acted as an officer and a gentleman should, and he was not the only one. A message from a notorious gambler. That J. Yates, gambler, confidence man and fugitive from justice, known to the police and in sporting circles as J. H. Rogers, went down with the Titanic after assisting many women aboard lifeboats, became known when a note, written on a blank page torn from a diary, was delivered to his sister. Here is a facsimile of the note. This note was given by Rogers to a woman he was helping into a lifeboat. The woman, who signed herself Survivor, enclosed the note with the following letter. "You will find note that was handed to me as I was leaving the Titanic. Am stranger to this man, but I think he was a card player. He helped me aboard a lifeboat, and I saw him help others. Before we were lowered, I saw him jump into the sea. If picked up, I did not recognize him on the Carpathia. I don't think he was registered on the ship under his right name. Roger's mother, Mrs. Mary A. Yates, an old woman, broke down when she learned her son had perished. 'Thank God I know where he is now,' she sobbed. 'I have not heard from him in 2 years. The last news I had from him, he was in London.' 50 lads met death. Among the many hundreds of heroic souls who went bravely and quietly to their end were 50 happy-go-lucky youngsters, shipped as bellboys or messengers to serve the first cabin passengers. James Humphreys, a quartermaster who commanded lifeboat number 11, told a little story that shows how these 50 lads met death. Humphreys said the boys were called to their regular posts in the main cabin entry and taken in charge by their captain, a steward. They were ordered to remain in the cabin and not to get in the way. Throughout the first hour of confusion and terror, these lads sat quietly on their benches in various parts of the first cabin. Then, just toward the end, when the order was passed round that the ship was going down and every man was free to save himself, if he kept away from the lifeboats in which the women were being taken, the bellboys scattered to all parts of the ship. Humphreys said he saw numbers of them smoking cigarettes and joking with the passengers. They seemed to think that their violation of the rule against smoking while on duty was a sufficient breach of discipline. Not one of them attempted to enter a lifeboat. Not one of them was saved.